Welcome back to the Explainer Focus Learners. Today, we are jumping straight into a truly mind-bending story. We're looking at Max and Claude's incredible expansion of Dino Buzzati's classic tale, the Tartar Steppe. We'll be diving deep into the life of General Ardavan Morel, a man who basically built his entire existence around a single, highly anticipated event.
So, I want you to think about this question, because it really forms the core of our whole philosophical dilemma today. Seriously, what actually happens when you spend 41 years waiting for the wrong enemy? Imagine orienting your entire life, your mind, the whole architecture of your daily routine around an absolute directional certainty. You're told an enemy is coming, so you lock yourself into this posture of defense and you just wait. But what happens when the thing that finally breaks the horizon is completely different from what you expected?
To really grasp the weight of this, we've got to look at the timeline. 41 years. General Morel spent exactly 41 years locked in a rigid military posture at Bastiani Fort. For over 4 decades, he stared north-northeast across the steppe, looking for an incoming attack. He got there at age 26, full of unexamined confidence, ready for battle. And he is 67 on the morning the anticipated dust finally appears. Every single day of his adult life, he maintained total readiness for a threat the institutional ministry promised was imminent.
But here's the wild part, the contrast. After 41 years, there are only 43 men left at the fort. What was once a massive, vibrant garrison has completely dwindled. The ministry? They stopped caring years ago. Threat assessments changed, funding totally dried up, and the northern steppe just became this forgotten line item on a budget somewhere. And yet, Morel and his skeleton crew stayed put, waiting for an invasion the rest of the world had completely moved on from.
Which brings us to Section 1, the art of waiting.
How does a human being survive that level of endless anticipation? Well, you see, waiting isn't just something you do. It actually becomes a completely different architecture of living. It has a grammar. We see this in the young adjutant Ferrua, who's only been there for 11 months. This environment forces you to relinquish the present tense. You literally can't inhabit the current moment because your mind is constantly folding the present into some anticipated future. Second, it requires this ongoing, exhausting negotiation with daily disappointment. It's not a dramatic defeat, it's the tiny realization minute by minute that this is not the moment. And eventually, this suspended reality becomes the only grammar you know. Food loses its flavor. Sleep becomes dreamless. You just become a native of the waiting.
At one point, young Ferrua actually asks Morel how to keep up the enthusiasm for this endless wait, and Morel delivers this incredibly hard, honest truth. The enthusiasm either takes care of itself or it doesn't. You don't rely on it, you rely on discipline. You simply maintain the position. It's the complete erosion of that initial romance, totally replaced by the sheer stubborn habit of duty.
And that takes us to Section 2, the unexpected arrival.
Because one morning that endless routine is finally shattered, the colorless hour breaks, and a bruise of dust finally appears on the horizon's pale underside. The enemy has arrived. General Morel watches the dust resolve into particulars, scouts, a vanguard, and then the main body. He estimates a massive, overwhelming scale, somewhere between 8,000 and 12,000 men. Compared to his 43 exhausted soldiers, the fort doesn't stand a chance. But Morel? He feels a strange calmness. He isn't panicking. He spent a lifetime practicing, not being terrified. He just calmly starts preparing his meager forces for what he assumes is their final, impossible stand.
But here is where the entire paradigm flips upside down. At noon, an envoy rides up to the gate alone, under a white flag. It's a woman. Her name is Sable Kirin, the first speaker of the Dravari Consolidated Command. And she completely shatters every expectation Morel ever had. Because this isn't an invading army looking to conquer the fort. This is a people in motion. They're climate refugees. 8,000 to 12,000 people, children, the elderly, entire families, and all they want is a corridor to pass safely through the fort and head south.
Morel is understandably totally thrown. If they're refugees, why on earth are they marching in a highly disciplined military formation? Sable Kirin gives him this brilliant, heartbreaking explanation. The Dravari use a military formation because in the past, migrating without one left them completely vulnerable to opportunistic attacks. They lost people. So that intimidating dust and structure, it simply exists to protect the vulnerable. It isn't aggression, it is tragic memory in motion.
This reveals our third section, the real northern threat.
Let's unpack what's actually going on up north. Sable Kirin offers Morel a trade, safe passage through the fort in exchange for vital information about the real existential threat. You see, data collected by Sable's sister, a scientist named Dara Kiran, shows a terrifying trend. She's been measuring the climate as they migrate. Historically, the temperature differential between the northern steppe and their homeland was about 4 degrees. Then, recently, it jumped to 7, and now it's sitting at 9 degrees. The northern territories are cooling at a radically unprecedented rate.
The meteorological reality here is just stark. The encroaching enemy? It's actually ice. It's not men at all. A massive glacier is advancing southward, which is why the Dravari had to abandon the northern steppe in the first place. It became totally uninhabitable. And based on this data, the ice is going to reach Bastiani Fort in just 20 to 30 years. It hits Morel like a ton of bricks. His military fort has been guarding against the wrong kind of enemy entirely.
Which leads us to a massive realization in Section 4, 41 years of data.
Think about what General Morel had actually been doing all this time. For 41 years, to stave off the madness of waiting, he meticulously kept military logbooks. Every single day, without fail, he recorded the temperature, the precipitation, the wind speed, and the exact dates of seasonal transitions. No one at the military ministry ever asked for this. They didn't care. But to Dara Kiran, who is desperately trying to plot a catastrophic climate shift, this is literally the Holy Grail. 41 years of daily, unbroken records from a single observer in a single location, that is exactly the pristine baseline data she needs to predict the glacier's path.
When Morel hands over his life's work to the scientist, he delivers this emotional tentpole of a realization. His wasted military wait wasn't a waste at all. It was an unconscious, completely vital scientific vigil. He thought he was a soldier looking for an army, but in reality, he was an instrument gathering the precise data needed to save humanity from a changing climate. He was the exact right person, doing the exact right thing, just for a completely different reason than he ever imagined.
There's this absolutely beautiful idea that Sable Kiran shares from her grandfather as they pass through. He believed that the survival of the people and the climate knowledge they carry, which now includes Morel's logbooks, are exactly one and the same. The data isn't just a bunch of numbers on a page, it's the physical record of human attention and endurance over time. The people carry the knowledge, and the knowledge preserves the people.
And that sets up our final chapter, Section 5, From Commander to Warden.
So what happens next? Once the 12,000 refugees pass safely through those gates over 3 days, the steppe is empty again. What is the ultimate fate of Bastiani Fort now that its true purpose is out in the open? Well, it completely transforms. 41 years ago, it was a proud military garrison designed to block an enemy. On the day of the arrival, it became a passage corridor, a gate instead of a wall. And looking into the future, its stone architecture is perfectly positioned to serve as a climatic observatory, a crucial way station for future refugees fleeing the advancing ice.
Morel doesn't just sit back, he takes immediate action. He writes a forceful, comprehensive report back to the ministry with a total reassignment plan. First, he proposes disbanding the unnecessary military garrison entirely. Instead, he wants to handpick a skeleton crew of just 10 men who actually have the temperament for long-term observation. And finally, Morel resigns his military commission, demanding to be repurposed into the warden of the fort. He's staying, not to fight, but to watch, to record, and to keep the gates open.
He undergoes this massive internal shift. He realizes that just as the refugees were carrying memory and protection within their military formation, his own rigid military life was carrying something else entirely. His life's work wasn't some huge failure of combat. It was an unconscious, meticulous preparation. Without even knowing it, he was building the bridge for humanity's future survival, one single weather reading at a time.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. Think about General Morel standing there at his window. If you dedicated your entire life to the wrong question, orienting all of your days toward an enemy that never even existed, could you, through sheer, unwavering attention, still manage to produce the exact right answer for the world?